with you this time, Farouk. When it comes to, I mean, some may ask, okay, so WASH and climate change, what do they really have in common? We have our emergency technical working groups and all of that. How can we do more in terms of highlighting the issues and working on them from these emergency technical groups?
Yes, like I said, we've heard this word for all the while, coordination. There's an institutional puzzle that we need to unravel. And this institutional puzzle is repeated in all the sectors. When you meet the educational sector, the health sector, they keep repeating this word. It's overflogged. Coordination. I think my worry is that when it comes to the relation between climate and WASH, I keep saying our sector is more like, I call it WASH sectors. Because clearly, the things we deal with, to just reduce ourselves to a sector, sometimes people don't really get what we mean. But I think we work within the WASH sectors with an S. And whether it's water is a whole gamut of conversation in terms of the upstream, downstream, what we use. I don't think we, the WASH advocates, would want to grab a certain portion of the WASH conversation and then others will hold on to the sanitation, others will hold. In fact, solid waste and liquid waste is another ball game. These are different. Urban sanitation, rural sanitation are very different. The very structure within which we run, the urban water, Ghana water, CWSA, that's a big conversation. In fact, I live in Oyarifa. The water starts, it's a small town, Oyarifa, Bokubi, Tema, water systems. Now, Ghana water is just to my right, also on South Street. It's Ghana water. When you pass my house, like 400 meters off my house, there's a Ghana water line. Yet I'm in the community water systems. I think the problems are way, way beyond conversations and institutions. I think we need to crack the whip. The whip is that there's a need for some level of equity lens to be brought on bear. Now, when we say equity, we are more looking at how this WASH conversation, in terms of its incomes, in terms of its risks, and then in terms of burden that it brings on people, needs to be evaluated. Now, once we evaluate them, then you begin to understand the varying impacts of climate. Because the climate conversation is a function of your adaptive capacity. And so if you assume that everybody has the same adaptive capacities, and you begin to sit in the ministries, and then you run a policy on adaptation, and you want to see the stress level, you want to see the attributes of the system, you want to check the, if you like, the reliability or availability, affordability, efficiency. All of these are context-specific. And so I would clearly say that we need to be very minded on boxing the whole conversation as though water and sanitation and climate have this. If it's a drought area in the north, I agree in the north, in the Tamale, Tutingle areas and all of those, but water is a very scarce resource. And every day people will have to struggle for drinking water. Now, my question is that if you don't really appreciate the drought conversations that they have in the north, and you want to bring solutions, you really will not solve the problem. So data. I'm just trying to emphasize on my colleagues' information that we don't have the data. Unfortunately, these kinds of data that we have normally been generated by mostly some CSO generate data. And because of the conversation around official statistics, and politicians don't want to hear the truth on the ground. And so they would frustrate you when you want to feed your data into the national system. Right. And so I think that we need to be very open. Water is life, and all of us need a certain volume of water to survive. This discussion is not so much about, like he said, who is right and who is wrong. I think collectively, if we can focus on how climate is going to worsen the situation, it's so scary. Climate is consistently worsening. In the urban areas, when it rains, the whole infrastructure, the waste that they generate there, the cemeteries that we have, and the water runs through the surface water. In the urban systems, we do surface water. And so the fear is that if you don't treat the collective inclusive model for informal settlements and the poor people who live in the slums, they shit openly. You eat their feces, sorry. But the point is that at what stage are we going to sit back and talk about climate in a way that it becomes too remote. Our problem is governance, investment, and prioritization. Once we're able to do this, the global agenda has set something that is difficult to change. There is a global monitoring system that requires our ministers of water and sanitation to conform. And it's also, this discussion is not so much of just wishing a ministry away. There are steps that you need to conform to, because we're part of a global community, and the WHO and the GLAS systems that we monitor, the sanitation ministers meet with the finance ministers on high level to discuss global issues. We need to be part of the global alignment framework to be able to report inconsistently. So I think it's not so much of just wishing away a ministry, but I think we should really sit back with the political parties and then get them to understand what exactly is the situation on the ground. It's not a binary conversation. Thank you.